Benny Johnson on X. Breaking. President Trump signs executive order banning banks from debanking Americans over their political or religious beliefs. And this just ironically, because obviously it's not a direct relation to Archcast getting banned from PayPal, but the timing of this is certainly suspicious because it feels like there was a little bit of coordination from the banks starting to happen. And Trump comes in and he's like, we ain't doing this anymore. Prohibited, politicized, or unlawful debanking. This is from the White House. President Donald Trump today signed an executive order to ensure that federal regulators do not promote policies and practices that allow financial institutions to deny or restrict services based on political beliefs, religious beliefs, or lawful business activities, ensuring fair access to banking for all Americans. Massive, massive deal, which ironically, again, you shouldn't even need this to be signed because you think it's common sense. But damn, the world has spiraled. And now we have the president being like, yeah, the thing that should never have needed a signature and someone to outlaw, we're doing that because, my goodness, apparently banking has been lost. Savvy from the top rope says, or lawful business activities. I will now spend my birthday bringing up every single case between America and Japan to prove that even the distasteful games are protected by law, not only in America, but also Japan. There have been multiple cases that prove this, along with several laws, and tags Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Steam, and Itch. Every game that has been banned must be reinstated. They are all fiction. Tags Patreon. Patreon needs to reinstate every artist. And by the way, that's a whole nother rabbit hole with the Patreon situation. Thought it was bad with MasterCard, Visa, and PayPal. Patreon is potentially even worse than all of them. Drawing flat-chested women is protected by law. Collective Shout's handiwork will be undone. As you continue to call Visa and MasterCard, bring this up. I realize it says banks and not all financial institutions, but it is a start. Not to mention, they work with banks, and banks should push their same rules on the processor. You could also call your bank to demand answers on why your payments can't be processed. For further information on this, I want to head over to Niche Gamer, who covered this as well. And they said, Trump signs executive order to contest payment processor censorship. Again, massive, massive deal. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on August 7th, which could have an impact on the ongoing censorship implemented by payment processors. And before I even keep going, I'm sure there's going to be people out there wondering what happened to Smash JT. Why is this channel turning into anti-censorship laws, anti-what's going on in the world news and all this stuff? It's because it is directly affecting the video game industry. And I want to do everything I can to draw attention to it using my platform that I've grown over the past 8 years to do that. If people have an issue with that, I'm sorry. Eventually, I'm going to get back to video games. But right now, this is the main priority for me. Okay? I feel like I haven't had much pushback from people, surprisingly. Most people have embraced me covering this. But I was thinking about that today. And I'm like, I want to at least put a disclaimer out there to let people know why all this conversation lately is on this, because this is a massive deal. There is a huge coordinated effort going on around the planet right now to instill massive censorship that will directly affect the video game industry. And I feel like that is my calling in this life, is to defend that to the death, because I love this shit. I don't ever want to see someone in a government coming in and being like, yeah, I know you love that, but you can't have that because we've decided that isn't okay. And oh, by the way, a couple of years later, you know what? Because we didn't say that's okay, we're also going to say this other thing's not okay. And then we all know the slippery slope that comes from there. But regardless, the executive order titled Guaranteeing Fair Banking for All Americans addresses the ability of payment processors to punish individuals for constitutionally or statutorily protected beliefs, affiliations, or political views. Additionally, the bill calls for an end to clauses regarding reputational risk, which that was the biggest one when it came to Visa and MasterCard with Steam and Itch. We're like, oh, it's going to hurt our reputation if we process these payments from this company and for these games. What? First off, no, you don't have that ability or that right. You can't do that. On the part of the payment processors like Visa, MasterCard, Stripe, PayPal regularly claim that objectionable speech represents a reputational risk and attempts to financially disenfranchise content creators. And here we have the bill. Within 180 days of the date of this order, each appropriate federal banking regulator shall, to the greatest extent permitted by law, remove the use of reputation risks or equivalent concepts that could result in politicized or unlawful debanking, as well as any other considerations that could be used to engage in such debanking from their guidance documents, manuals, and other materials. And other than, oh my God, this is a run-on sentence, other than existing regulations or other materials requiring notice and comment on rulemaking used to regulate or examine financial institutions from a period over which they have jurisdiction. Guys, this might be the longest sentence I've ever read in my entire life. Man, that is something else. But yeah, ironically, this coming after the Visa MasterCard situation really does show the quick action by the president where people were tagging the POTUS over and over again with Visa and MasterCard. And then this happens like a week later. I don't think that's a coincidence. I really don't. I think they realized this was something that needed swift action and they took it. The removal of such concepts shall be made clear by each appropriate federal banking regulator through the formal guidance to their examiners. The federal banking regulators shall also consider rescinding or amending existing regulations consistent with applicable law to eliminate or amend any regulations that could result in politicized or unlawful debanking, and to ensure that any regulated firm's or individual's reputation is considered for regulatory, supervisory, banking, or enforcement purposes solely to the extent necessary to reach a reasonable and apolitical risk-based assessment, which is a mouthful for saying don't be stopping payments if you don't agree with what someone's buying. We're the government. We'll be the ones in charge of deciding that, not you. Early in the executive order, Trump gives examples of surveillance targeting potentially conservative citizens as a result for his intervention. So it seems that the blow to adult content censorship may just be incidental. For those who don't know, payment processors have become de facto censors for online platforms such as Pixiv, Patreon, Fansly, and more have been compelled to change their moderation practices under the threat that payment processors may scuttle their ability to do business. Which, by the way, this is the other thing. People are saying, oh, it's just a game that you're not going to play. Who cares about it? Oh, it's not going to be a slippery slope. Don't worry about it. What people don't think about is the mentality and the gun shyness of companies. If a decision like this gets made, then the companies are like, okay, you know what? We just want to work with these guys and make sure that everything is okay moving forward, because we don't want this to be an issue to take away from our money-making machine that we have. There's an active change.org petition to draw attention to the issue, which you can check out here, which I covered that in a previous video. And shout out to Niche Gamer, which, guys, please do something about your ads. I'm not going to use an ad blocker, but holy shit, there's way too many ads on this site. Emerald Apple. Trump didn't just save gamers. He might have just saved the West. This is probably one of the most important executive orders that he's signed. Censorship of people, organizations, companies, artists, etc. cannot be instituted by payment processors anymore. Doesn't matter if you hate people like Nick Fuentes and people who make distasteful artwork, promoting the censorship and debanking of these people will actually lead to the collapse of the West. Strongly agree, by the way. It's a very communistic tactic. It's a way to push Marxism, ironically, in a way where they think they're not. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Without the free exchange of ideas or thought, no matter how distasteful, a functional society cannot function long term. And I'll leave it with Madam Savvy, once again, the legend. Executive order guaranteeing fair banking for all Americans means Visa and MasterCard must retract their censorious demands from platforms. Attached are the sections I found most relevant from the EO. And the rules of Visa MasterCard, they must be removed. This thread is court cases regarding free speech, obscenity, the internet, games, and more. Only some that I think show how games from Steam and itch are protected. Speculation, along with international content based on the use of the internet and not the American websites. And this is a hell of a thread. I feel like Savvy was a lawyer in a past life. She really dove into previous lawsuits over and over and over and over and over and over again. And she said, I chose each of these cases to help people have a better understanding of how the court views obscenity, how laws are constructed around free speech, and how art and games are protected. And tags Collective Shout, which I love. From Collective Shout claiming to influence Visa and MasterCard to Ofcom and being overly vague, American companies have no reason to participate in their crap. Absolutely. That's what makes American companies amazing. That's why it's so scary when an international company comes into America and they're like, no, we're not going to follow the Constitution. It's like, if you're going to do business here, yeah, you are. Collective Shout is going after video games like Detroit Become Human simply because it features a story with child abuse. Fictional, mind you. But you are the hero in the story who saves the kid. That is not obscene. This alone completely discredits them. But here we are. Because I see what she's saying here, and I agree. By saying, even if you're not the hero in that story, that shouldn't matter. As long as the game is entertaining and it doesn't do anything illegal with child and prawn and stuff like that, have at it. If it's a great game, I'm here for it. But I see what she's saying here with how it invalidates them, because like they're trying to say it's a horrible, obscene game. It's like, you're the hero that saves the day. You're the one that fixes the problem. How are you mad at this game? Just because it's in the game, they want to get rid of it, even if you're trying to stop it in the game, which, again, I get what she's saying, but I would add on to that. I'm not pushing back. I'm adding on to it, saying, even if you're not doing that, it shouldn't be a problem. Almost everything they have complained about, from adverts to breast cancer fundraising to Halloween outfits, all of it is protected. But remember, they defended cuties. I love how she keeps bringing that up. And she said, I'm going to always bring that up because it's a great point. They defended cuties. So we know it isn't really about protecting anyone. Patreon's rules and many other platform rules that changed thanks to Visa and MasterCard can now go away. These rules were made directly because of Visa and MasterCard's rules. And by the way, this was kind of the slippery slope that was starting over the better part of the past 5 years or so. I mean, probably longer than that, but really ramped up over the past 5 years. It started off very subtle, and now it's become just like, oh, it's just how it's always been. It's like, no, that should have never been how it ever was. We even had someone recently get banned from Patreon simply because they drew a woman with a flat chest. Drunk characters are not obscene by legal definitions, nor are flat chicks. And yes, this is the rule that can get you banned if you draw a character transforming because the character can't consent. Indication of consent by a statement or by a clear affirmative action. Oh my God, that is something. And I strongly agree with this. Keep calling, keep reporting, keep on the conversation and pressure. Damn Savvy, crushing it. Twitter broke and some of my formatting got messed up. Very cool. Madam Savvy, absolute legend. I would argue in this case too, even a bigger legend than Madam Savvy would be this guy signing his name at the bottom of that, being like, yeah, we're not going to keep doing this, guys. This needs to stop immediately. It should have stopped 5 years ago when you first started going down this road. It should have never been acceptable. People were pushing back then, but it was hard to have a platform for it because the platforms were the ones that were silencing the people that were pushing back. But now they can't because of who's in charge right now. And it's amazing. It's amazing. And ironically, many of the same people that hate Donald Trump are benefiting from what Donald Trump is doing right now. But they'll never admit that. Anyways, I'll leave that there.